This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from. So whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we're continuing our season snapshot series covering the Atlanta Dream, a team that looks very different than last year. I feel like I've been saying that about all the teams, but that's just kind of how things go when you see the most movement in a single offseason. Excited to get into all of that. But before we do, Kristen, how are you?
I'm good, John. I do have an update.
A life update?
No, not my life. My father's life, my dad.
A lore update?
Yes, a lore update on something we talked about previously. So shout out to my dad. Recently celebrated his 60th birthday. We're going up to celebrate this weekend. Mm-hmm. But I mentioned in our podcast about the Miami Soul, what happened to the Miami Soul, a defunct WNBA team, that their coach, Ron Rothstein, was the basketball coach at my dad's high school. But I said, my dad was younger. My dad didn't play basketball. So my dad didn't know this guy. Turns out my dad messaged us and said, heard you guys talking about Coach Rothstein, LOL. He was I guess also a gym teacher at the school.
Insane.
So my dad did have this random guy as a gym teacher in elementary school.
Yeah.
Still remembers this man. Says that no one liked him. He just yelled at the kids all day.
Ugh.
So that's my update, my dad's update on Ron Rothstein, the coach of the defunct Miami Soul.
Yeah, and, no wonder he was as bad as he was, because they were just picking up a gym teacher, a random gym teacher to go coach a professional basketball team. Shocker, they only lasted 3 years. Shout out Coach Rothstein, I guess. Mm-hmm. So this is our season snapshot series where we're taking a look at each of the 13 teams in the WNBA as we lead up to the 2025 season. We've already covered 5 teams from bottom to the top. We had the Valkyries, the Sparks, the Wings, the Sky, and most recently the Mystics. And now we are getting into the Atlanta Dream, the next record up, a team that finished 14-26 in last year's campaign. If you would like to reach out to us and let us know how you're feeling about the series, or if you have any questions or comments about what we've said about your team or another team, you could do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you could connect with us on our Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. We're there talking about all the good WNBA news. So, the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream, a team that has my favorite player in the WNBA, Allisha Gray. Another one of my favorite players, Rhyne Howard.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're an Atlanta Dream fan.
No, not quite. I'm a player fan first and foremost.
Okay. Well, they also used to have one of my favorite players, Tina Charles. However, she has departed.
Do you want to do the departures and arrivals?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
As mentioned, Tina Charles has left to go play with the Connecticut Sun. Mm-hmm. We are sad for her. That's neither here nor there. Also departing was Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, Ariel Powers, Ileana Rupert, except just her rights,
Correct. Right.
Letitia Amahir, and Lorella Kubai.
And Lorella Kubai is on the list because she is unsigned. Technically, she could re-sign. I think she was good. I don't know. I don't understand why she's unsigned, but anyway.
Okay.
And then as far as arrivals go,
Arrivals, some big name arrivals.
big name, free agency.
Brittney Griner and Brianna Jones came in free agency, as well as Shatori Walker-Kimbrough. We have the 2 draft picks of Tahina Paopao and Taylor Theory. Tahina drafted
At 18 and Taylor at 36.
Okay. And then we have 3 other training camp contracts.
More players that we haven't heard about,
Yeah.
nor do I necessarily expect to make the team.
Well, I will say one of those players is Imani Jefferson, who has played with the new coach, Carl Smesko, at Florida State.
Worth noting.
So she could very well make the team if
Sure.
they have a good relationship.
That's a good call. Yeah, Carl Smesko, the mad scientist of basketball, they called him when we did our welcome to the new coaches of the WNBA. He's a player that had, or he's a coach that had a very long college career in one place, spent over 2 decades at his previous college venture, and he's now getting an opportunity in the W. And he's a coach that I'm pretty excited about. Like, if that is your nickname, I guess, then you got to be pretty good at what you do. Like, I expect this guy to cook up some interesting basketball. So that's why, we're going to get ahead of it. But I'm pretty high on the Atlanta Dream. I'm not gonna let you'll see how high I am on them later on. But, this team is built around 2 players that I love to watch. 2 players that were both very good in their respective unrivaled runs. Allisha Gray on my Lunar Owls, Rhyne Howard making the finals with the Vinyl. Basically, the leader for that club. And the 2 of them, you say it.
I was going to say they did incredible TikTok, food tasting TikTok.
I was going to say that, yep.
Food and drink tasting, even though they seem to not enjoy food or drink.
Correct. They almost always gave it a 1 out of 5.
But
whatever it
go
was.
look that up.
But I don't think there are 2 players that are closer.
No, they are best friends.
Best friends.
So cute.
Love them. Allisha Gray, recently engaged. Great for her.
Oh, yes.
The power of love will propel them forward.
Okay.
Any initial thoughts on your side from this team?
They had the splashy off season.
Yes, certainly the splashiest free agency, I would say.
The splash, well, I don't know, compared to the Mercury, maybe one of the splashiest off seasons by getting Brittney Griner and Bree Jones. Personally, I think both of those players incredible additions. Brittney Griner is more or less replacing Tina Charles.
In your eyes.
In my eyes.
Yeah.
Or, or perhaps Bree Jones is replacing Tina Charles. Either way, one of them is replacing Tina Charles. But because they got both of them, I think that is what makes the difference.
Right. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, to use something that you said in Chicago, Cheyenne Parker-Tyus was the Elizabeth Williams for me last year because she was on my fantasy team. She got hurt and I kept her for way too long and she never came back. And now she is no longer with the team, but she was the second big to Tina Charles last year. And it was a very limited run for her. So they dealt with some changes, some things that they weren't expecting to deal with. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus was paid above $200,000. She was a player that was expected to have a significant role last year for Atlanta, and she wasn't around, and they only won 14 games. and they sort of limped into the playoffs. There was that last day of the regular season where it could have been any one of Washington, Chicago, or Atlanta, and it ended up being Atlanta just to go play New York and get absolutely smacked. But, you know, maybe things are different if Cheyenne Parker-Tyus is healthy, but that also might mean maybe they don't make a move for a BG or for a Bree Jones. So certainly exciting additions in that regard. And Shatori Walker-Kimbo, a player that I also enjoy watching, you know, a fiery good depth guard. So some veteran talent there to boot.
For sure.
And Tahina Paopao, you know, was a player that people expected to go in the first round in a lot of mock drafts. And she fell all the way to 18. We talked about Cheyenne Sellers as potentially the steal of the draft, going to the Valkyries at 17. Tahina Paopao, if she's, you know, a capable rotation guard immediately out of college, maybe she could be the steal for Atlanta.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
No, I think Atlanta should be thrilled by being able to draft Tahina Paopao. She, coming off of Dawn Staley's South Carolina team that won 2 years ago with Tahina's best season, she can shoot. And she's bigger than a lot of the other guards that were drafted.
Sure. I think she's, what, 5'9", 5'10"?
Yeah. I mean, compared to Georgia Amar.
Yeah, she's bigger than Jordan Canada.
Well, there you go. So she gives them a little more size and is a good shooter. So absolutely, she was a great draft pick for them.
Right. So looking at the starting five, firstly, looking at the contracts that are protected, there are a number of protected contracts for this team. Actually, I believe the most in the league. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 protected players. So that's 8 players that you expect to make the team. Brittney Griner, Bree Jones, Jordan Canada, Allisha Gray, Nia Coffey, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, Rhyne Howard, and Naz Hillman. So we believe that the starting 5 in this case would be Jordan Canada starting at the point. At shooting guard, we have Allisha Gray. At small forward, we have Rhyne Howard. They're pretty interchangeable. It could be either way, you know, however you want to cut it. At the power forward, we have Bree Jones, and at center, we have, obviously, the tallest player in the WNBA, Brittney Griner. That's a really good starting 5 on paper.
Yes.
On paper. I am hopeful that they can find a way to work together because, you know, Allisha Gray, I'm going to wax poetic again. She won the 3-point contest and she won the skills contest. She's one of the most skilled players in the entire league. She can pass the ball, she can shoot.
She can do anything, Allisha Gray.
That's right. Rhyne Howard, super explosive. Can drop 30 easy on a given night. Did it often in Unrivaled. Jordan Canada, one of the fastest players in the league, also small, helpful when you have, you know, Bree Jones and Brittney Griner in your front court. Brittney Griner, if they get the ball to her, get easy looks at the rim, should be able to score pretty easy. Hopefully she can keep up with the pace if they run a fast-paced offense.
A dunk or two, perhaps.
I expect multiple.
We say that, and then there was 0 last year.
I expect multiple.
Okay.
Dominique Malunga is going to change the face of the WNBA because she's going to dunk a basketball. And BG is going to have to dunk a basketball. Queen Egbo is dunking basketballs in prep.
Oh my gosh.
So we might
Okay.
get some more dunks.
All right.
And Bree Jones, a player that I don't feel like we talked enough about last year, that is also a very capable offensive weapon. So
Yeah. Bree Jones, very capable. Last year, she was just behind Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner on the Sun, so she kind of was getting lost. But I think this is a better spot for her, a better fit for her.
yeah, yes, I agree. She doesn't have to do as much as she necessarily had to do in Connecticut. So she can focus on where she's best at.
Right. So that's our starting five. I agree with John with that starting five. We then fill out the rest of the roster with Shatori, Walker Kimbrough, and Tahina Pow as, backup point guards. Haley Jones, Maya Caldwell as some other backup guards. Nia Coffey and Naz Hillman as backup forwards.
Right. So at the end of the day, they end up with a roster of only 11 players. And that's because they're just under the salary cap of $1.507 million. They do not have enough room to add another player. So
Correct.
when I get so excited about their starting roster on paper, they're really going to need to get something out of Haley, Nia, and
Naz Hillman. Yeah.
Those are, it's funny to say how important they are to the team, but they need to be better than they were last year. All three of them, I would say. They need to show that they can be the depth that this team needs because their starting five, especially Brittney Griner, can't be expected to play 40 minutes a night. Just can't. And unfortunately, as it looks right now, they don't really have a backup center on paper for BG. It will be, considering Smesko cooking, he'll probably just play Bree Jones as the backup center. Like they'll just rotate out, and then one of Nia or Naz will fill in at the 4 position when BG's off the court. But then they're reliant on those guards keeping up and keeping the scoring hot because, I don't know how good their defense could be. I think Smesko's going to have to make sure that there are some good team defenders and that they're playing really hard defense. Because I believe in their offense, I don't know how good their defense could necessarily be. Obviously, I expect Brittney Griner to get her fair share of blocks as well as Bree Jones, but gonna have to hope that everybody's willing to play hard on defense, or else this team could struggle on that end of the ball, if we're being realistic.
Right. I mean, did you say, Jordy Canada just being so small, she's not the best defender.
No.
And
She could be a pest.
Brittney Griner, Bree Jones are slower. So at least those backups need to be good defensively. I was just looking up what position Imani Jefferson plays.
Worth noting. How tall is she?
She is 5'6".
Okay, great. So even if
But this picture is of Rhyne Howard.
She looks really tall in this picture is what I thought you were going to say. Well, we have Maya Caldwell penciled in here to the roster. That's where they can afford to make a move. They don't sign Caldwell, who's, the 6th guard on the team, and then they sign another big. Maybe there's a player that gets cut in, from another team that signs at that minimum deal to give them some extra big depth. But strengths and weaknesses, strength, probably, a top 4 starting lineup on paper. I say that on paper. They got to be able to play together, and, only a handful of them have played together for an extended period of time.
I would say strength is, I think a lot of these players can play a lot of these positions.
Sure, roster flexibility.
Yes, like Jordan, Canada, Brittney Griner, they're what they are.
Right.
They are tall and they're short. But the rest of them, like the rest of the starting three, they're so flexible. So that opens up, what did you say this guy's nickname was?
The mad scientist of basketball.
The mad scientist. He can make all sort of plays with these women, and something that, you know, perhaps other teams aren't expecting. And they're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely works in their favor.
Demon Carl. Here he comes.
Okay.
Here he comes.
But a weakness is for sure the depth.
Yeah. Yeah. But hopefully those depth pieces prove us wrong, because yeah, they need a heck of a lot out of them. And they also need to be flexible. You know, they also need to be able to play in, you know, in different positions.
Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, Haley Jones started a lot of games last year because of other injuries. So perhaps this year, coming off the bench, she's more comfortable with that.
Right.
You hope that they are able to find what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. But, you know, can't not root for Brittney Griner.
No,
Plain and simple. And you know, obviously I can't root against Allisha Gray and Rhyne Howard. Just can't. Just can't. Anything else on the Atlanta Dream?
No, I'm excited for it. It could be an incredible team if all these starters stay healthy and they just mesh together and the backups step up, or something. It could go up in flames. I don't know.
Yep.
This is definitely one of those situations.
Uncharted territory, it feels like. They got a 1-year window, it feels like, for real. Unless it works, then you extend it. But let's say, where do you have, out of 13, the Atlanta Dream? I wonder where people listening now feel like I'm going to put them based on how excited I was at the beginning of this show. What do you got?
I have the Atlanta Dream in 9th. I do kind of want to like move that around, but I have already like listed my 8 in the LA Sparks and my 10 in the Wings. So I feel like I don't really have any room to move. So here we are at 9.
And this is what happens when you have the sky as high as you do, and I have them as low as I do. I have the Atlanta Dream as the 5 seed.
Oh my gosh.
All the way up there. All the way up there.
That's pretty
I'm hitching
wild.
my wagon to the goat, to the aura.
To the goat, Allisha Gray.
The aura. I'm riding the aura all the way to the 5 seed.
Incredible.
And we'll see what happens in the playoffs.
Okay.
Let's freaking do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I believe in it. I can believe.
Like, quick thought exercise. Think of the Mercury last year.
Yep.
Diana Taurasi, Kalia Copper, Brittney Griner. A bunch of questionable depth. Now, think about Brittney Griner playing with Allisha Gray, Rhyne Howard, Jordan Canada, Bree Jones, instead of
I understand.
or retiring DT and Ka.
I understand.
Come on.
My thing with the Sky is I think the Sky have much better depth.
And they do. But it's about the top end talent for me in this. Top end talent.
Okay, fine.
Let's do it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm feeling bullish on this team, and I want to see it. So you got to make some calls.
I should have guessed it.
You should have guessed it. Maybe I don't know if you would have said 5 though.
No, I literally would have moved them up 1 spot to 8.
Well, only time will tell.
Okay.
So that's all we have to say.
Let us know who you think is more right.
Yes, please.
Will the Dream finish 5 or finish 9?
Yes. Send us an email and let us know how you feel about that at attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or send us a DM on Bluesky or Instagram telling us who's right John's 5 spot or Kristen's 9 spot.
Making the playoffs or not making the playoffs?
Not just making the playoffs, being right in the middle of the pack in the playoffs or missing the playoffs by a spot.
Arguably, missing the playoffs is the better situation.
Some would say.
Some.
Not I.
Okay.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of Attack the Baseline. We're going to be continuing our series of season snapshots with the Phoenix Mercury next. Another team with questionable depth. We'll get into that on the next episode. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the baseline. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back soon with Phoenix Mercury Talk.